It is Sunday night. It is time for another live recording of the Auburn Experience podcast. Episode 35 is coming up right now. Let's get into it. War Eagle Auburn family and War Eagle E2C Network family, thank you so much for joining us. Whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay, we appreciate you being here, hanging out with myself and my usual partner in crime, Mr. Austin Scott. What's going on, Austin?
What's up, Kyle? War Eagle to you. I hope you've had a great week and happy Mother's Day to all mothers watching.
Yes, you have got a particularly, a more important one these days. How is that? We'll save that for the show, but I really do want to hear. We have to talk about the kids at some point in the show, so we'll save that for a minute. But I was
Sure.
thinking about this earlier for you, not being a father yet. I haven't had to deal with that concept yet because it's Mother's Day. She's the mother of your children, but she's not your mom. So how that dynamic of how you celebrate that? Like they can't celebrate for your mom yet. Do see where I'm going with this? Like you have to
Yes.
celebrate for them kind of thing.
Yeah, a little different first Mother's Day vibe of celebrating Emily and celebrating our moms as well. Definitely different feeling around it this year, but
Yeah.
got to celebrate her today, and rightfully so.
Awesome. We'll definitely mention that in a live recording. Speaking of which, for those maybe watching this for the first time, this is a little bit unique setup. This is a recording for a podcast, but we're going to start here in about 4 minutes officially with our show. You guys are encouraged to watch along and carry on in the chat with each other throughout the live stream when we started. But you can ask us anything you'd like right now. We'd love for you to start the show by smashing the like button, letting us know who's here with a War Eagle. Or we always like to say check in where you're watching from, your city, your state, and if you're international, you can take care of that too. Want to know who's hanging out with us and talking about all the Auburn things. We got a pretty good show, we think, for you today. We're going to kind of take a little bit of topics that we don't hit a lot on or spend whole big segments on. Softball, because of what's going on with them right now, it's very pertinent, and I think we were all very tuned into that this week and for the next, hopefully, couple of weeks. And we're going to talk a little bit about Auburn, specifically football parking, but just getting around with some news that I woke up to today or this week that I was not a happy camper about. I'll be honest with you. I woke up in a grumpy mood. So this may be another show, Austin, where we have what do we call it? Crotchety old men segment.
Crotchety old men. Yep, we're back.
I feel like when we say the crotchety old men segment, you're older than me because you're now a father. So like I've still got, I guess, a little bit of a leg up on you in a sense, because I feel like you're going to age quicker than me,
I don't know if that's how that works.
I said, does the hairline give that away?
I have the gray though. Even in the hair department. But
are you really graying that? Are you really graying that
I've been
bad?
gray since sophomore year of high school.
Really? I never noticed.
I thought I'd be walking across the stage, getting my Auburn diploma full Taylor Hicks, but that hadn't happened yet.
I got a little strands in here on the sides, but yeah. So we're kind of, if we could coalesce into one being, we would be like the gray and the balding all at the same time. So we'd be really old. Thomas Jones asks, anything on possible wide receiver transfer yet? From my end, I don't know anything specific. Last that I heard, it looked pretty good for the Colorado wide receiver heading our way. I think a lot of people are holding out hope for the Michigan State guy to follow in suit with his quarterback. Anybody else or any other thoughts on that?
We got Caleb Burton.
Yeah, obviously that
like
one.
You said, Colorado's Montana Lemonious Craig, or as I call him, Montana Lemonade Croissant.
Wait. What?
That's what it looks like to me. Lemonade croissant.
I don't know what to do with that.
Montana lemonade croissant. I'm not sure he's going to jump in the boat. I think he would have jumped in the boat by now.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm still a lemonade croissant.
I mean, he deserves to be an Auburn by the name alone, but he hasn't made it yet.
he instantly launches to the best name award list. We had it taken with Muskrat, I think, with the offensive lineman.
Yeah,
That might
no,
jump right there. Look, we're not making fun of
especially if
his
we
name.
call it lemonade croissant.
Look, we're not making fun of his name because look, you could make fun of my name all day, and I'm not going to share some of the ones that I was called in high school because they were mean ones. But yeah, Fruit of the Loom, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Heard that up and down twice on Sunday my entire life. So I mean, you got to have fun with interesting names like that sometimes.
The other one would be Jair Shorter from North Texas, but
That's the one.
I don't know where. And then I think they offered a kid from Jackson State this week. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, Thomas. Long story short.
I think a lot of times we get really focused on the grass is greener on the other side type of situation where we see all these shiny objects out there. Oh, what's not with us is better. I think we've got a really good crop of guys, especially now bringing Caleb Burton into the mix, that are just waiting for the right assistance, quarterback, offensive line protection of the quarterback to get the passing game going better. I'm not saying that we've got the best wide receivers in the land, but I just think we've got a lot of unrealized talent that is just waiting to be exploited. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah. I think some guys with some proven in-game experience could help that group too. But
That's true.
and
That's
I think the staff views those as some assets too. They're obviously offering guys. So
Yep.
we'll see. I think they're going to bring in one or two more if they can. So
Yep.
we'll see how that goes.
Cool. Well, that was a good warm-up question. That's kind of what we use those first 5 minutes, 6 minutes or so to get going here. But we're about to move into our live recording. Most of you know the drill. If you're watching in the chat, if anybody gets confused while we're not interacting, just let them know that we're recording an episode and we will be back on the back end of this. I will. Austin will have to go to hang out kind of like on a mini Wednesday night show. But with that, sir, Austin, are you ready to roll?
Ready to roll.
Here we go in 3, 2, 1. David Housel said it best, the whole of the Auburn experience. It's what we live, and it's what we're going to talk about today. It's all about our sports. It is all about our culture. And more specifically, it is all about our family. And because this is about the Auburn family, you've got to have a member of that family unit in here to talk with me alongside every single episode, all the way up to now. Haven't run them off yet. Episode 35. Welcome back, Austin Scott.
Thank you, Kyle. War Eagle to you. Glad to be back. You have not run me off in 35 episodes. Don't think you're going to run me off anytime soon. If I came back after having 2 baby boys, I think you're stuck with me here for a while.
I'm going to say something that I probably shouldn't say. I will not reveal who said this, but I had one source, I don't know what I'm acting like this is some inside scoop, that said, I wonder if Austin, not just with having 1 child, but 2, is going to get on the other side of that and be like, you know what? I can't come back. And listen, I and that person would not have blamed you in the least.
Sure.
So I will admit, I was kind of sitting back here having our special guests, Clint and all those, AJ and all those other people, and just wondering if, I would ever see Daddy again. I couldn't let it go. I was trying to find a way to work it in better than I did last week, but Daddy back in the saddle.
Okay. This is a great segue because a huge reason that I am able to be back is because of my incredible wife, who is a mother now and is celebrating her very first Mother's Day today. And so she has been amazing through these last 7 weeks of motherhood and parenthood for us. And definitely a big reason why I'm able to kind of take this hour on Sunday nights for us and spend some time together with you guys. So,
Yep.
Emily's amazing. Happy Mother's Day to her. Happy Mother's Day to all moms listening.
Absolutely.
Tonight.
Especially our Auburn moms out there, because all moms are great, but let's be honest, those Auburn ladies, they are the cream of the crop. There's a reason you don't mess with an Auburn woman, because they are some strong, strong people. And I could start quoting the creed and tying that up. I thought about that today when we were making our little E2C Network post. I was like, how can I work the creed into this? And there were some easy ways, but I feel like I do that too much sometimes on the E2C Network stuff. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to say the general thing today. But I concur, whether it's about Miss Emily Scott, whether it's about your specific mother out there that you're thinking of right now. We appreciate all those Auburn moms out there. So let's move into Auburn potpourri here for the last few minutes of this segment, and let's talk about a bunch of little different things. Something we've been talking a lot about in our big segments is Auburn baseball of late. And we're going to take a little break from just spending a whole segment on, but we have to mention 4 series, SEC series in a row that the Tigers have won. And they did it in convincing fashion against Ole Miss on the road with a doubleheader one day because of weather in just absolutely dominant fashion. If you ever doubt Butch Thompson again, I will slap you. And I'm not talking to Austin, but I'm talking to you, the generic fan out there who's listening to this. Don't you ever doubt Butch Thompson again, because this man knows how to coach and squeeze whatever he needs to squeeze out of what he has to work with. And that's not me downplaying the talent. I think there's really good talent there, just young talent. And wow, what a performance for the last 4 weeks by these guys.
Oh, yeah. I mean, first SEC sweep on the road in 5 years for this Auburn team. Really, really incredible stuff. And to go on the road at Ole Miss, where baseball is king, and defending national champs. Now, this isn't the national championship team by any means. Ole Miss is having a rough year. Probably not going to make Hoover. But we talk about it in football. We talk about it in basketball. Anytime you can go on the road in the SEC and win, it doesn't matter what sport or how many times, it's an accomplishment. And they swept big time Ole Miss on the road, and so took care of what they need to. There's a lot of rumblings out there. Is this team going to be able to host a regional? I think they need a lot to go their way for that to happen. But they're making a case, and if they keep taking care of business, they're going to be a strong 2 seed. Nobody wants to see in their regional if not hosting. And so I think that this team is doing what Auburn teams do when the calendar hits April and May, and they're hot. They're playing smart baseball, and they're just on fire right now. And so I'm looking forward. We got 4 more games in the regular season, and this team is going to close out strong, I think.
Yeah, I really think that I'm not surprised, as I kind of set up what's happening with this baseball team right now. It's eerily similar to a softball team. When you think about seeding and things like that, I think we as Auburn fans, we get on the hype train and we start thinking, hey, not number one seed, definitely not, but hosting seed. And not the case for softball, which we're going to talk about in a little bit here. But they are definitely a team that nobody wants to run into right now because they are on fire and all aspects of the game, whether it's pitching. The pitching could always improve this year, but it is continued to provide what this offense needs to get going and produce big numbers like it did this weekend, which we could have run ruled a couple of times. And I think we run ruled the first game. But fun time right now. Something else that I wanted to mention in our little potpourri section, basketball transfer portal. We did update a lot of football transfer portal in a previous episode. I think it was episode 33 maybe is when we talked about that one. I can't remember exactly. But basketball, we've been kind of holding, waiting, hoping we're going to get some more definitive things about who might be coming to fill some of the spots that opened up. That's already happened with Denver Jones. That's already happened with help me. I'm floundering here. The second name that's
Chancey? No.
Yes.
Chancey Johnson? Chancey, is that right?
Chaney Johnson. Chaney Johnson coming over from UAH. So those two effectively filling the spots of Wendell and of Zepp. But there's still that Traore spot. There's still that Chance Westry spot out there. So we're really kind of in a holding pattern. And I keep thinking we're almost there. You got any feelings about if we're about to have any news about this?
I think it's going to be in the next couple of weeks. I think a lot of the guys, Auburn's looked at to fill another 3 spot. We've talked about, I think we talked about a possible reunion with Devin Cambridge since we're on episode number 35.
Oh, there it is. You found it. You worked it in.
I did. Truthfully, I forgot, but I did just remember it with Devin Cambridge. My other options were Jay Prosh, who I love, and Zacoby McClain was originally number 35 before going to number 9.
Oh,
Yeah,
Ricochet Rabbit,
but
love it.
Jay Prosh was a good option. Didn't know how to work him in as well as Devin, but anyway, Devin Cambridge was thought to be an option. He ends up going to Oregon. I think that we're going to see movement really when the NBA Combine and draft, or I'm sorry, G League Combine and NBA
Yep.
Combine kind of start moving. You mentioned Julian Phillips being an option. Tyron Lawrence has taken a visit to Auburn, the transfer from Vanderbilt. He's in the G League Combine, who, by the way, is also with Janai Broom doing a fantastic job in the G League
Yes.
Combine. So I think those two guys are really who Auburn's left looking at. I would be surprised if they don't get one of them. I think Lawrence is probably the more probable one there, but I think until those guys are able to kind of get some more definitive answers on what their outlook looks like professionally, we won't really know if they choose to come to Auburn or not yet. So I'm going to say that we might have movement on that in a week to 2 weeks.
That's what I'm hoping to. And here's the rub, right? You want to definitely root for these guys. Like, yeah, I see the highlights. You know, Auburn basketball has been posting them and retweeting them from the G League and showing how well Janai is doing. And so you're like, yes. And then at the same time, no, we need you back. We really do. So yeah, it's going to be a tough one to follow and kind of balance that act. But it's something we're hoping to get to in the next few weeks. Last thing that I do want to touch on, that something I didn't even mention with you pre-show, but I think it's at least probably in the back of your mind somewhere. This week, Will Herring was announced and inducted into the Cotton Bowl Hall of Fame. You know, Will Herring's one of those guys that I don't think 35.
Ah, nice.
Are you kidding me? We didn't even point this. I didn't even try to like work that in there, but I just hit me that he was number 35. How, like,
nicely done.
Man, like I'm kind of at a loss for words now because I'm ashamed of myself for not like thinking this is a perfect segue into this. But anyway, the news is he was inducted to the Cotton Bowl Hall of Fame for his really great performance in that bowl game in 2005, January 2005, I believe is what it was. No.
2004. That would have been January 2000. Anyway, January 05 would have been the Sugar Bowl of Virginia Tech.
See, I messed up all the way around. Like, anyway, we are celebrating Will Herring. He is a guy that really invests in Auburn. I believe still lives in Auburn and is part of the community there, working with his business and stuff. And happy to see Auburn people continue to get recognized. 07, is that when it was?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
That actually feels right because now I'm recollecting when where I was when that game actually happened. Anyway, congratulations to Will Herring. Just wanted to throw that in here on the tail end of the segment. But for now, let's move in to our first segment tonight and talk a little bit about some softball. We've been talking a lot of diamond sports lately, a lot of baseball though, and we're not done with that. Plenty still to talk about. But softball takes not center field, but center stage right here in our first big segment of the night. We obviously just got done with the SEC tournament, and Auburn came in there really hot. Number 3 seed overall, double bye. Obviously, we want to spend just a little bit of time talking about that and then move on to where they have now been seated and talk about what it looks like for them going forward. But SEC tournament was really fun. Enjoyed this week, tuning in and watching not just them at times, but the SEC softball. I think people forget how good SEC softball is and how talented they are. I have no problems even saying there's pretty talented softball players on the Alabama team. That's kind of usually their history there. But I think a lot of people were surprised by the fact that Auburn's opponent, we'll get there actually. So let me give your opening thoughts about the team and how they performed in the SEC tournament. You take that wherever you want to, even if it's the last game.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, end up playing Ole Miss and in a wild back and forth game and end up winning in the first round. Good game for both teams, and Auburn fortunate to come out on top and then get to play, the Cinderella story of South Carolina, who's come into the picture here. I think they were the 11 seed. Is that right, Kyle? 11 or 10
They
seed?
were. It's confusing because if you look at the 10 seed, now I've got it fixed
10
on my
seed.
screen. Now.
Ole Miss was the 11. Yeah.
Yes, that's why that got a little confusing there. But 10 seed overall.
The 10 seed and just loses on a heartbreaker. Some, I don't want to say questionable decisions, because I think Coach Mickey Dean was thinking to have Maddie Pinto lined up for the championship, which, you want to end up doing that, but get there is also the other side of that argument. And so, anyway, just loss on a heartbreaker. Really unfortunate for that Auburn team to kind of falter in that way, but a good game by the South Carolina, and to have them go on a little bit of a Cinderella run through the SEC tournament.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get into seeding here in a minute, but not sure how much that really affected them. I think this Auburn team was hot. I think a lot of people were hoping that they would host as well.
I was.
You could argue they should have. I think that once we we'll just go ahead and get into it. Once we see the seeding, I think they got jobbed. Truthfully, I don't think that they should be the highest two going to Clemson, and then if you win the Clemson regional, which of course, who needs another Auburn Clemson matchup in any sport?
Right.
But us going to Clemson, and then you win that. Oh, what do you get to go do as a super regional at Oklahoma? So
right.
Just messed up. There's a lot of things with that bracket that aren't right. People are going to hear this and think it's beating a dead horse because it's Alabama, but Alabama was the 5th seed in the SEC tournament, and now you're telling me they're the 5th overall seed in the country and hosting a regional. I don't understand that. But
Right.
Auburn, the facts are Auburn had 15 SEC wins, and they're going to be the first team in over 10 years from the SEC to not get to host a regional with 15 wins. That doesn't make any sense. And so I think there's a lot of issues with the bracket this year, but that's the way the cards are dealt. Auburn's going to have to go up to Clemson for the 4,380th time and go and try and win that regional, and then advance on to play Oklahoma. So, and for a chance to go to Oklahoma City. So it'll be good. This team's ready for it. Maddie Pinto is the kind of ace you need in this late in the season. So it'll be fun to watch.
Can I point out, though, yes, Auburn got jobbed in the seeding, but it kind of works out if you do win the Clemson bracket, which in that sense, probably maybe we can debate it here in a second. If you want to be the last number one hosting seed, or however you say it, the 16th seed overall,
sure,
which means you would be the least of those hosting teams, or do you want to be the best number 2 seed to be with the weakest number 1 hosting seed, whatever you call it? You could have that argument there. But if Auburn does this, maybe how they're capable of doing, of maybe surprising people, taking the Clemson regional and pulls the unthinkable and beats Oklahoma, you're already out in Oklahoma. Just stay out there for Oklahoma City. I mean, travel arrangements, that's going to be pretty good. What do you think? It'd be very
logistically, it works, I guess.
It would be advantageous, but not obviously how you got there. You mentioned South Carolina obviously making it all the way through to the championship game, and not a bad ending game there, losing 1-3 to the number 1 overall seed Tennessee, which is, I think, how most people expected this thing to end out. Do you think if Auburn makes the championship game, they're a hosting team for the NCAAs?
I would like to think that would matter. After seeing the entire bracket and other decisions, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I would like to think that would have mattered. Maybe they thought that. I don't know. It's hard for me to say that winning against a lowly South Carolina team just to get in the SEC championship would make it enough for the committee to view Auburn as a host. But
right,
over Clemson, I guess, would be who. So I don't know, but I think they should have been a host regardless. And that I'm trying to take my orange and blue glasses off for that, but apparently orange and purple is the move instead.
Okay, let's talk about that. I don't care if it's this situation. It happens in this situation a lot for Auburn softball, but I'm just tired of playing Clemson overall.
Wasn't it last year?
Yes.
Didn't we go to Clemson last year? I mean, I don't know what anybody in here we go. I don't know what anybody in the NCAA's obsession with is with Auburn playing Clemson. Like,
They love
They're
cannibalism. That's what it is.
they're tired of it. We're tired of it. Everybody's tired of it. It's just beating the dead tiger over and over and over.
Literally, but the beating is being done by each other. And yeah,
Yeah.
I I would love to not see our some would say sister school as often as we do in things. It is a very convenient travel arrangement. I remember it was last year because I was trying to figure out if I could justify going to a few games last year. And unfortunately, it won't happen this year either, it looks like. But because I'm not but 2.5 hours away from that. But either way, if you look at it, you can kind of look at the good. It's not a bad travel situation if you're thinking about going up there, but we'd like to A, have a different opponent, B, not be in the Oklahoma regional. We've already played Oklahoma this season, and you saw how it went. Oklahoma's just dominant. We know this. We were in the championship game with them. What was that, like 6 years ago now?
Yeah.
Some time has
6 or
passed.
maybe 7. Yeah.
So it's just a little bit frustrating, but this team is mainly still hot right now in terms of how they've been playing. You've got a pitcher like Maddie Pinta, and you brought up whether or not she should or should not have been played in that final game. I tended to agree with the decision to not play her in that if you could. She had even admitted in an interview, had said like she had not thrown her best stuff in a few of her appearances. So you don't know how that like would have played out. Yeah, she's your ace, but maybe she'd been used too much and needed a little bit of rest. So I don't necessarily fault the decision by that, because I do think we saw where we were heading, who we were about to run into in Tennessee, and we got to have our best ready there. And you would like to think there's not that big a drop off, and usually there's not when Maddie's not in there. And yeah, and sometimes it just doesn't bounce your way. But the most frustrating part about this is not the loss there; it's where we got seated overall. So I guess just to kind of round this subject out, prediction time. Do you see them making it out of the Clemson regional?
Yeah, I think they will make it out of the Clemson regional. I
Okay.
think they'll have to upset Clemson, I guess, once or twice, but I think they will make it out of the Clemson regional.
And then the last question: can they, if that happens, if they take care of what we think they're capable of at Clemson, can they get past Oklahoma and just stay out in Oklahoma for the rest of the time?
Can they? Sure. That's why you play the game, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think Oklahoma's probably where their season will end, and no one can blame them for that. But
Yeah.
I think, and I'm not really sure it would matter much if they were a host. As much as I want to say I wish Auburn was hosting, they're probably in that 16 range going to play Oklahoma anyway. So,
Yeah.
there is the off chance here that Oklahoma is upset and Auburn gets to host a super regional. So
That
we can
is
hope for
right.
that.
That is absolutely right. And I'll be honest with you, the biggest travesty for me in this is what an awesome weekend it would have been in Auburn upcoming if
Yeah.
softball's hosting, baseball's here for their last SEC series at home. And, that's just a great way, even with school being done and mostly the campus emptied out now, that would have been a fun weekend to have here. Not for me, obviously, because we continue to remind that you're in Auburn, I'm not. But you would have gotten to experience that, and I would have been super, super jealous. So either way, very proud so far of what softball has accomplished. Tough road ahead of them, but we've seen them, surprise a lot of people this year, and we'll hope that they'll continue to do that. Let's talk about our second segment here. Something that we're going to kind of just have a general discussion about. I'm going to give my opinion about some news I saw this week. It's kind of a smaller topic, but I think one that'd be pertinent to the Auburn family, especially when you think about football game days and you think about just overall campus usage. And I hope that I have this. Well, I hope I actually have it wrong, but I think I have all my ducks in a row in terms of how to report this news that was released. I think it was like Wednesday or something. I wake up to a tweet or a story posted from Auburn University about parking upcoming. Because, right now is like re-up your season tickets for football next season. So if you haven't done that, if you're part of the TUF program, now's the time to start doing that. I'm not part of it yet, but I'm heavily considering because I think we're about to move into a very hopefully a very fun period for Auburn football. So there's my pitch and sales for Auburn University. You're welcome. What I will not be happy about, though, is the continual, it seems like, and I want to be very careful here too, Austin, because I don't want to sound, we do want to sound like crotchety old men, but in a fun way, and not just sitting here complaining about things all the time. But it feels like at times there's the over commercialization of not just property around on campus and around campus, but the usage of it. And what I'm talking about is parking on game day. Gone are the days where you could have just pulled within 100 yards on a curb of the stadium and walked in, if you were lucky to, get there early enough to do things like that. Gone are the days of seeing just everybody trying to find everything. And look, logistics wise, it's great. Does it make the town look better overall? Sure. But there's something about that. Everybody's just trying to get there with each other and gave the madness of it. And most people, by the time game time's about to hit, people are just parking wherever they need to and just hoping they don't get towed. One of my lots that I have frequented a lot, I won't say specifically where it is in case this is wrong, and I don't want people to rush over there, but I'll say it's close to the library, and has been a lot that is very coveted. A lot of big tailgate groups utilize that and save spaces for each other. I'm fortunate enough in what I do to come to campus the day before usually, so I can secure at least one, just one spot for me. And utilize that for the weekend because it's convenient. What I do, sharing the Auburn Experience during game days for equipment and such. Now that's going to be paid, but you have to be part of a society right now to get paid to pay into that. But it's going to come available by the time that happens. All these big tailgate groups are probably going to have snatched them up. So my gripe, my crotchety old men segment, is I am tired of the generic Auburn fan, the everyday Auburn fan who just wants to pull in on their SUV or their little sedan or their RV being pushed further and further and further out from campus. Will you get on board with this with me?
I see where you're coming from, and it does stink. I don't have a dog in this fight because I don't pay for parking at all. I've been fortunate enough to find or have a sibling that's been attending Auburn University and lives within walking distance of the campus. That is no longer an option after this. I mean, after August, my sister will be gone, and so I'm in the market for looking for parking. I think I've got a spot picked out that is going to not cost me any money.
You're gonna help a brother out.
It's further than your spot.
Okay.
But yeah, I get where you're coming from, and it feels like this is definitely a trend. I think about I can't remember what specifically, but I think about the RV lots out past the med school. I feel like that got a kind of redo here recently. Or maybe it was like when you can come and when you can't come, and or you can pay to come this time or not.
Right.
So it's definitely a thing where I think people are looking to get their money any way they can get it. That helps Auburn University. That helps Auburn athletics.
Does.
So I understand that, and I'm for that. But it definitely hurts the overall experience in some cases. So I see your pain.
For me, so I'm coming at it from a couple levels. For me, just what I do as a business, it makes what I do hard now because I either have to trek super hard. I'm not going to lie to you. I have started investigating buying a motorized scooter to get around on game day.
Oh,
I listen.
Yes.
I've already pictured myself just scooting around in amongst all the people, like just trying to get to where I need to get. It doesn't necessarily make some parts of that easier, but getting to and from to, store things and things of that nature. For those of you that don't know, I use a lot of, I won't say a ton of equipment, but enough to I live stream Tiger Walk. So if you're not subscribed, you need to be, because that's going to be happening, and just share all kinds of stuff from campus. Thankfully, these phones, we have mine's over here. I can't show it. They do a lot of things that like equipment that's made life a lot easier than it used to be. But I guess my other gripe is just that I've heard other fans say this too, like the RV people, the traditional people that can't pay for those close-up spots in the Beard Eve slot. They are talking about how they just feel like they're getting pushed further and further and further out. And yes, so the double-edged sword, it helps the university overall in terms of economics. It helps it in terms of look and game day organization, cleanliness, traffic flow, all that stuff. Like when we gripe about it, when I gripe about it, let me say that I acknowledge there's good and bad to both of this, but it just feels like we're slowly losing some of those things that Auburn people, grew up with. I can just vividly remember like pulling up on the side of the street and just literally seeing the stadium off in the distance, to walk within 10 minutes. And now maybe it's not super longer than 10 minutes, but it just feels like it's getting further and further away from the non-paid spots. For those of us that are on a budget. Now, those of you that are, not having a nickel and dime everything with inflation these days, more power to you. But for me, I am pinching every penny that I can get. So that's just my gripe for today.
That's fine. I'll allow it.
You allow it. You're going to have to find a way to work me into this spot maybe sometimes if I can't find another solution. My other thoughts are to sweet talk somebody else into helping a brother out, but I don't know that that's really going to happen. We shall see. I don't know. I just feel like there should be some lots left, and I think that was one of the few ones that, while it was a madhouse, and let me tell you, Austin, Jessica was witness to not a fight, but a fervent discussion between me and one individual. So you had to stake a claim on your spot there and make sure nobody was going to take it. And let me tell you, if you've seen how I secure my spot, have you ever seen it before?
I've never seen the operation. No.
Let me just say this, and people probably are now going to know it's me if my car is not in the spot actively, if I'm had to pull it out for some reason and go somewhere. It involves cinder blocks, lengths and lengths of corded white rope, stakes, and yeah, that's basically it. So if you see a contraption that basically makes you ask the question, should I even bother trying to move this to steal this spot? That's me. Like, wow. That's how the extent I go to it, because I've had a spot stolen for so many times. So this is going to become probably more the norm, though, for any spot outside of that. But I guess there are parking garages. And do you think they're ever going to do anything with that Beard Eves Memorial building and make that a bigger parking area?
It's a good question. I could see it, but I also could see that being a hot ticket for parking. So I don't know if it would benefit you in this situation.
So basically, I'm out of luck no matter what happens.
Well, you might just need to get some nice walking shoes. That's what I think might need to happen here. Or your electric scooter.
Would that make you happy just to see me scooting around campus one day?
Absolutely. With a tiger tail on the back.
Oh, do that. And look, I would, if that happens, if there's some sponsor out there that wants to like me slap their logo on it,
absolutely.
Hey man, all throughout campus all day, they're going to be seeing you because I move a lot, trying to spread the Auburn experience. So that is just one thing that I wanted to talk about and gripe about. Long way off, obviously, from the season. We'll see if those spots are still available, but just something to think about for Auburn fans as we get closer and closer to football game days. But we'll see if things like that start to change for other things on campus, other events and athletic things of that nature. So that's what we have for you this week, episode 35. As we almost forgot the Will Herring episode, or the Zachaby McClain. Is that what you said, Zachaby McClain?
Yes, and Jay Prosh and Devin Cambridge. I think those are and we don't know for sure yet, but Jalen McLeod from the transfer from Appalachian State wore 35 at App State. Maybe he'll keep it. So I
feel like I'm forgetting some other sports famous 35s, but no matter how you slice it.
Oh my gosh!
What?
Frank Thomas is 35. Frank Thomas. Yeah, that we didn't forget. We did not end the episode. The big hurt.
I don't know whether to be madder at you or me for that one.
We did not end the episode.
Okay, well, that's just the best way to end an episode, nearly forgetting about Frank Thomas. The Frank Thomas episode, as it always was planned to be. We thank you guys so much for tuning in to this one and every week. on their way out. If you want to keep up with me, you can do so, obviously, on Twitter at Kyle Loomis 24 and follow all the E2C Network stuff. Where can they follow you, Mr. Austin Scott?
Austin G. Scott is where you can find me. 36 next week. I think I got it covered, but I might need your suggestions, so feel free to send them in.
There you go. You can always help him offer a suggestion to Austin on Twitter. He would love that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will be back again on the next episode. Until we talk to you again, War Eagle.
War Eagle.
All right, Austin, thanks for hanging out with us tonight, sir.
Quick thing between you and me. Did I have any technical difficulties this episode?
You froze a little bit at times, but that happens from time to time just with internet connections.
Yeah, so did you. So I didn't, but I think it was all on me, on my end.
We made it through it. There was one time where I was like, oh, he's frozen, but then you started talking. I was like, okay, we're good.
Yeah, like you were like completely frozen, and then I didn't hear you for about 3 to 5 to 10 seconds, and I was like, but then it caught back up, and so then I felt like I was jumping in on what I don't know. I'm glad it.
No, you're good. We made it work out. So you're getting to see the curtain pulled back here on production when you join shows like this. This is what happens here.
That's right.
Austin, thank you, sir.
Good evening, everybody.
Talk to you later. All right, folks, we move into normal programming for the next up to 15 minutes. We'll see if anybody's interested in just chatting. Now, I would love to hear your comments and questions about what we talked about, what we didn't talk about. Post them now. This is kind of like a mini Wednesday night show. Would love to hear from you, especially those of you that were watching along. I see some other people checked in. WT, Angela, thank you so much for being here and tuning into what we were talking about. Anything's on the table. While you do that, if there's anything you're interested in here about, let me go ahead and remind you, would love to have you at the end of this broadcast. Stay all the way through if you can. It won't be a few, just a little bit longer here, even on the replay. And make sure you not only hit the like button on the page it takes you to, which should be our next live stream on Tuesday night, our Auburn baseball midweek chat, the last one of this weekend, of this season. Do that, but also make sure you hit that notify me bell. A lot of you did that for this one, and we're noticing that pattern. It seems like maybe a stupid small gesture, but it does help us out very much so. So I would appreciate you guys continuing to do that. Just a reminder, the Let's Discuss It live stream after the Jacksonville State game. Don't miss that one. You also, I'm kind of messing myself on the back here up. Check out all those links in the description for ways that you can help support us by subscribing, by being a channel member for $1 a month here on YouTube, or if you want to be an assistance person, financial assistance person for us at fan support, you can join the Booster Club as well. If you're a Booster Club member, be paying attention to some stuff coming up. We're going to try to do a behind the scenes not live stream, but a chat like we did last year and talk about things that you guys do or do not want to see in the future. So that's coming up very soon. All right. If you got things on your mind, I am here for the next few minutes and would love to hear about anything that you have on your minds tonight. Brian, that's an interesting email commentary I'm just now seeing on there. Good to see you here. I feel like we've missed you the last couple of weeks. I don't know if you've been busy or whatever, but I don't feel like I've seen you on the chat as much. One of the things that Austin and I did not talk about in potpourri or in any segment was it just feels like Auburn is, and not just feels like it is, starting to slowly close down in terms of athletics, especially for the rest of the season. Women's tennis just wrapped up their super regional, got beat by NC State pretty convincingly. Was hoping they were going to make a little bit more of a run, but like with that, really it's now Auburn softball, which, if it doesn't go how we hope, could be done this week or this at the end of this weekend. Baseball has got this final weekend and then the SEC tournament. And so then the first round of that. And so if that doesn't go according to plan, baseball will be done in 3 weeks. Track and field will always last the longest. It feels like they just did SEC championships. So they'll do preliminaries and then they'll do actual NCAA championships. So that's probably going to run another 3 to 4 weeks. And then I'm trying to think, I think men's golf is actually playing in town this week, I believe, in their NCAAs. The point being that we are literally almost done with the Auburn. We're done with the academic year, but we are almost done with the athletic year. And it's a very, very sad feeling to have this year being done. Some of you are probably like, please this year be done, when you consider things like football and maybe if basketball didn't meet the expectations that you had. But there's been some high points this year that I think we will look back on with some distance from and be like, oh, that wasn't so bad after all. I think especially when you think about football, minus the first 8 or 9 weeks, those last 4 were super fun with Cadillac. Were they not? Man, tell you what, being in that Texas A&M game in person for the first Carnell Cadillac Williams head coached football game. Ooh, you don't get feelings like that in Auburn. I shouldn't say you don't get them a lot. You do, but with a special feel like that is pretty incredible. Kevin says that he thinks softball girls will win 5 games. Well, let's play that out. So that means that they'll play their first round game. They'd win. They'd sit out till all the 1 losses figured their things out. And so that means they would play, I think to win it all out, they could play a minimum of 3 or a maximum of 4 if they, handle business. And then a 5th one out in Oklahoma. So by my estimations, Kevin, you're saying that they'll at least get 1 win out in Oklahoma if they make it to that regional. If that's how I understand it. I could see it going that way. I definitely could. But as Austin and I talked about in the episode, they got jobbed when it came to seeding. Not good. Not good. You do not want to run into Oklahoma. We already did that once this season. How does everybody feel about the baseball team right now? Super hot, aren't they? I mean, I should save this for Tuesday, but we'll have, stuff from the game to talk about. Baseball, Kevin and I are like right on the same wavelength. Yeah, baseball right now is fun to watch. And I'll be honest, even as optimistic as I get sometimes about everything and as sometimes Pollyanna-ish as I get, even I kind of, when we hit that bad week of, I think 2 weeks in a row of losing midweek games, and then maybe, I don't know, we lost the Alabama series. We lost forget the series before that. Anyway, we were not in a good point then. I was like, we really got to turn the corner. It didn't seem like that was going to happen. And then, wow, Mississippi State. Wow. Then South Carolina, then LSU, and then just this utterly dominance of Ole Miss. Just outstanding. I think my friend Michael Floyd, I'll give him a shout out. You know him as the Jungle VP on Twitter and such. And he's been the vice president of the Jungle student group for basketball. He said, I think outside of football, we have owned Oxford this year. And let's be honest, Ole Miss fans, we did a live stream about it earlier this year. Auburn and Ole Miss fans have not really seen eye to eye a lot this year, whether it's because Auburn's been dominating them for the most part there, or it's been because of other shenanigans, meaning their head coach may or may not have acted and like he wanted to be in Auburn. It's always interesting, right? Do you know which day we play in the SEC tournament baseball games? No, we don't know that yet, Kevin, because we've got this weekend to play. The way Auburn is positioning itself right now, let's look at it real quick. I want to kind of, good question, kind of help prep us for, let's see, SEC baseball standings. Auburn's beat the best of the SEC too, so that's interesting to think about. 2023 SEC baseball standings. So currently in the West, Auburn is only trailing. And by the way, folks, they are now above 500 in conference play too. First time this season. LSU and Arkansas. So that would put them, based on records, about the 6th team. So that's not enough for a double bye. I can't even remember how the baseball tournament goes now. But you could probably expect them to play not the first night or first day of the SEC tournament, maybe the second, if they continue to win. They got to take care of business midweek game if it's played, all the rain coming through the South, and they've got to take care of business this weekend. But there's a team that is not really hot. That is Auburn. Ole Miss athletics hasn't been relevant since Freeze was there, unless I'm missing something. I think you are. I'm gonna give him a little bit of credit. Kermit Davis, before he was fired, maybe like a season or two removed, was pretty. He had him in what I thought was a pretty comfortable position basketball wise. They just won last season the baseball championship, so that's pretty relevant too. I would say they're relevant in the conversation of football right now, and Lane's had them there for the last 2 seasons, season at least. So that's baseball. Talked about men's basketball. I don't think women's basketball for them is pretty prominent right now. Their softball team has been decent enough, so they've not been relevant. I would say Freeze helped them with the relevancy a little bit. Admittedly, I don't follow the ancillary sports. Well, you should follow the ancillary sports in Auburn, and I hope you do, and I think you do, but I understand not following the ancillary sports for other schools. I talked to someone recently, and we were talking about how do we memorize all of these players' names and things like that, much less for our own teams, but for other teams as well. Like how Andy Burcham and people like him in his shoes on a radio team or a TV thing have to study and learn all these, not just learn how to say names, but know what they're talking about on broadcast and stuff. And I know they've got, like sheets in front of them and stuff to help them and things to talk about, but it's amazing that for me doing what I do here, having to remember, oh, that person is in this position or has moved this position or is running on this number, doing this number now, or has been here this many years. It's amazing what you can and can't remember. And this is a tough thing to do when you just try to do football and basketball and sometimes baseball alone, but do all the other things too. Woo! It gets tough at times, admittedly so, but I enjoy doing it. So that's why I invest the time into it. What else? Any other things that you guys want to hit tonight? Last minute derogatory rebuttals, anything like that? Trying to think if we've got anything that I should be announcing. We do have something. There's nothing official yet. Well, it's about as official as it can be, but we are about to start partnering with someone that I think you all are very familiar with, and we're very excited to partner with. And it's in terms of a business, not another show or something like that I think we're going to be talking a lot about very soon. So I hope you guys are prepared for that, and hope you're prepared to help support us via them, help them show that you are the best little family with the Auburn family. So that's coming up pretty soon here. Hey, WT says, I want Auburn to do well, win and everything, but I have too little time to invest in sports that are not basketball and football. I'm assuming BB is basketball and not baseball, unless it's in a championship setting. And I get that. It is tough when your job isn't what I do, to invest time into things that maybe aren't as interesting to you. And I think that's one of the things that's a challenge too. What I pride myself on personally, and E2C Network, and what I and so many others who have volunteered their time to help build what it is giving as much exposure as we can to other topics other than football, basketball, and baseball. We spent a whole segment talking about softball here. We have a track and field show. We've talked about academics before when we can, or just, unique special interest stories that relate to Auburn. We have interviewed a children's book author before to talk about the book he wrote, how it had Auburn references in it, people that you wouldn't know unless you're an Auburn fan. So we try our best to give you guys the most well-rounded experience that you can have. Have we mentioned Buc-ee's yet? We did not. Speaking of, though, we have the shortened highlight version of all that footage, opening ceremony, just general footage from the opening day of Buc-ee's out now. If you haven't, please watch that video, drop a comment on it, a like. You can also find it on social media too, but we prefer for you to watch it here on YouTube if you can. That's the monetized route right now. And yeah, some fun stuff in there. So I hope that you'll go check that out. But no Bucky's being mentioned. Devin, where have you been? Where have you been? I guess we'll let it go because it's Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to you too. But yeah, so we missed you tonight, but I hope that you did have a relaxing day for all our Auburn ladies out there. Any plans to have other SEC commentators come on during the football NBA? You know, what do you mean specifically, WT? Are you talking about like other podcasters or other voices in general? Because last year what we did was we had Ben King, who is a voice from the very beginning of E2C Network, but you don't hear him that much now because he's just busy now. But he was willing to commit last season to doing our review show here on YouTube with us. So yeah, I mean, the plan is to do things like that. And when it's appropriate, we try to bring other voices on here. But you know, I hope you're not tired of me because it's mainly going to be me. If you listen to the podcast network side of things that has all the podcasts from our volunteers and such, you're going to hear AJ and Jared. They just released an episode too. You're going to hear my wife, Jessica, on track and field. You know, Chandler and Jace did basketball this season. So I haven't talked to them if they're planning on doing it next year or not, but yeah. So that would be my answer. You did it last year and it was really interesting and informative. If you're asking about like having the SEC other teams, if that's what you meant, I actually love to do that, like non-Auburn people. And I want to continue with that. I had an LSU guy on who was my former pastor. I had Jason Alvarez for Ole Miss. Feel like I got one more on there and I can't remember who it was, but really it was hard to find people who have time to come on and do the show when I had time to do it as well. So yes, to have other SEC, if I'm probably now thinking I should have just read your question clearly. Yes, that is the plan to do that. Life's been so busy. Baseball will be over this week. Have some more eating is good. We'll be happy to see you there. Yeah, I'm looking at that too. All right. It's 10 o'clock. We're going to wrap it up here, folks. Again, if you're here watching live, especially, but on the replay, stay over until the end here, till it takes you over to the next scheduled live stream for Tuesday night, right after the baseball game. If it gets rained out, we'll do it as early as we can within that time. Stay there, go to that page, hit the like button, and hit that notify me bell. It'll help us out tremendously. You guys are the best little family within the Auburn family. Thank you so much for being here and spending your Sunday evening with myself and Austin earlier. And we appreciate you guys so much. Until we talk to you again, and hopefully very soon, War Eagle.